everyone. I'm Steve Tenenbom. I'm a violist who plays in the Orion String Quartet, the Piano Quartet Opus 1, and teach at several schools, the Juilliard School, the Curtis Institute of Music, and the Conservatory of Music at Bard College. Congratulations to Charlie and everyone involved in the quartet program these last 50 years. You've changed the lives of countless hundreds of young people, and I count myself as one of them. I'm an alum who was there from 1971 to 1975 and had the great pleasure of teaching there for a few summers as well. My history at the quartet program starts in 1971 when my teacher in Phoenix, Arizona had read an article in a string teacher's magazine about this young program that was going on in the East Coast, chamber music string quartet program, and he knew that I loved chamber music. So he suggested that I contact Paul Doctor, who was coming to solo with the Phoenix Symphony Orchestra, and see if I could take an audition with him. I did that and was accepted, and I couldn't be happier to pack my bags and go to the East Coast in the summer of 1971 to Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York. That was a great experience for me. I remember my first day there, getting out of the car after being picked up at the airport with a bunch of other kids and Heidi Castleman driving, and we unloaded in the parking lot at Skidmore, and there was music coming out of a window of a dorm room of a Mendelssohn string quartet played by a bunch of kids from Cleveland. And I couldn't believe how beautiful it sounded, and I was so much looking forward to working there. My first quartet was a group that played a quartet by Walter Piston, his third quartet. And I remember that very well. It was a group that had Naomi Anner in it, Mark-Ann Thacker, and Norman Johns was the cellist. And we had great fun working on this very contemporary piece of music at the time. It was probably only 25 years old back then, and it sounded very contemporary to us. I've listened to it recently, and it's a really beautiful piece. I like it a lot, and that was a great start at this program. Sadly, after 4 days there, my mother passed away. She insisted that I leave and go to this program, and I probably was in denial that anything was going to happen, at least soon, to her, and it was quite a shock. And I must say that after coming back from her funeral, I was surrounded by students and teachers, and people really looked after me, and that was a big experience for me as well. I learned that family doesn't just mean blood relatives. These were going to be friends for life, and I was really, of course, deeply moved by everybody's warmth and nurturing during that time. I guess the way to describe the quartet program is that I learned how to grow as a person and as a musician. My memories there include lessons with Paul Doctor, who was this wonderful European virtuoso on the viola. He was a bon vivant. He was a wonderful artist. He drew a picture of an elephant in my Hindemith sonata that described his rendition of what bizarre and ungainliness looks like. And of course, meeting my lifelong mentor, teacher, and friend, Heidi Castleman, who was probably one of the greatest influences in my life in every way. And I don't think I'm alone in saying that. Of course, there was Charlie, who was teaching us not only about his wizardry on his violin, but his refusal to grow old. And I think that's still the case. There was a coach there, an Italian gentleman by the name of Renato Bonaccini, who, during one of the sessions we had with him playing a Mozart Divertimento, slow movement, we looked over and his eyes were closed, and tears were pouring down his cheeks. And I knew that was a very, very powerful lesson for us, in not only that he wasn't listening to us play the music, but the music being played by us, and how affected he was by it, and unabashedly affected. I also remember him at the end of the last movement, as the music was calming down and sort of disappearing, he curled up in a little ball in front of us as to depict going to sleep, which I thought was really cute. And then I got to play many times with the great pianist Sam Sanders, who was a collaborative pianist that worked with Rostropovich and Itzhak Perlman and many great artists. And he graciously spent time with these young people in, that time it would have been Troy, New York, going through sonatas and teaching us how to listen to the piano part and how to collaborate, and a huge inspiration. And then there was Robert Levin, and Robert Levin was seeing true genius and depth of understanding in action, in his ability to understand at a level that really nobody else could show us. And lastly, I would like to remember some of my dear friends and colleagues and classmates who sadly have left us way too early in life. There was a violinist named Evan Paris, a wonderful, wonderful New Yorker who was a big help during my mother's passing in helping me through that time. Wonderful guy. Walter Lennell was a cellist. Walter was a fantastic cellist and a fun-loving person who was so great to be around. And then lastly, a great friend of mine, Mitch Stern, who was for a time the violinist, one of the first violinists in the American String Quartet, who was such a hard worker and showed that maybe he wasn't the most coordinated person in the world, but he worked hard and he was a great musician, and his standards were above all, and a great friend. So with that, I want to thank you, Charlie, for this amazing program, and I can probably speak for many others in saying that the quartet program helped me to become me. And I look forward to more great success and watching you all for the next 50 years. Congratulations.